Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our platform Mathematical Thoughts, a students' learning initiative. This is an open platform in which we students and research scholars will enjoy the diversity and beauty of mathematics. तो बेसिकली हमारा जो ये प्लान है कि हम यहाँ स्टूडेंट्स रिसर्च स्कॉलर्स के साथ मैथ्स पर डिस्कशन करेंगे. So we have initiated through this platform a web lecture series from the resource persons, research scholars from different university and institutes. We master's student can also share our knowledge to this platform. एक्चुअली अभी लोग ज्वाइन हो रहे हैं तो हम अपना सेशन स्टार्ट करते हैं. इधर हमें बार बार एडमिट करना पड़ रहा है. एक सेकंड.
Okay, Shashank, let's start.
हाँ सर.
So now
एक मिनट.
I would. Okay.
यस सर. जस्ट कुछ बेसिक इंट्रोडक्शन आप बता दीजिए हमारे इस प्लेटफॉर्म के बारे में. हमारा जो ये ग्रुप बना है स्टूडेंट्स के लिए, कैसे CSIR ओरिएंटेड स्टूडेंट्स या फिर NVHM टाइपर ओरिएंटेड स्टूडेंट्स किसी भी प्रिपरेशन को ले.
देखिए, जो ये प्लेटफॉर्म या ये इनिशिएटिव हम लोगों ने लिया है, ये एक्चुअली ये सोच के लिया है कि हमारे बीच में ही हमारी इंस्टीट्यूट से ही बहुत सारे स्कॉलर्स अलग अलग फील्ड अलग अलग इंस्टीट्यूट्स में जाते हैं, लेकिन दे डू नॉट गेट द अपॉर्चुनिटी टू इंटरेक्ट विद द पीपल हु आर राइट नाउ इन द करंट इन द यूनिवर्सिटी और द लोकल कॉलेजेस. सो माय विजन थ्रू दिस प्लेटफॉर्म इज दैट कि हम एक ऐसा प्लेटफॉर्म डेवलप करें जहां से जो बच्चे अलग अलग इंस्टीट्यूट्स में अच्छी अच्छी जगह पर हैं वो अपनी इंफॉर्मेशन, नॉलेज, एक्सपीरियंस शेयर कर सकें लोकल इंस्टीट्यूट्स के बच्चों के साथ भी, और उन्हें गाइड कर सकें कि वो आगे क्या कर सकते हैं. हेलो, एम आई ऑडिबल?
हाँ, कंटिन्यू करो.
ओके. सो ये एक इनिशिएटिव रहा है और इसी के साथ मैं अपने स्पीकर को आमंत्रित करता हूं, मिस्टर ज्ञानेंद्र कुमार वर्मा. He has done his BSc and MSc from BHU and right now he is pursuing PhD in IIT Delhi. So now Gyanendra, over to you. And before that, I would like to tell you all that please, if you have any questions, write it in comment box, and at the end of the session, we will read that questions to Gyanendra and he will answer it. Okay? So Gyanendra, over to you.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. So we are a little bit late, so I am directly going to share my screen. Okay, just a minute. Okay. My screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, so in this talk we are going to see some basic an overview on continuity in context of competitive exams, CSIR, NET, and NVHM and TFR. So we basically discuss in this some basic recall theory portion, definitions, related theorem. Over R, we don't go topology or in metric spaces. We define definitions and theorem in general also, but we limited ourselves to the real numbers only. So aim of this talk is going to be how to do preparation for competitive exams like CSIR, NET, and NVHM, TFR, a brief discussion on continuity of function. And our main focus is on some questions, how to approach a problem. We all know the theory portion, we know the definitions, we know the theorems, but sometimes we are not able to attempt a question, approach a problem. So we will focus on this portion basically. So let's have a quick analysis of CSIR NET paper. So how it is built. So total marks of question is 405, maximum attempt 200. So you have to attempt 200 marks in the paper, but question paper contains 405 marks question, including statics also. That's why the marks is very high. So to qualify from recent years, last 2-3 years, we have seen 110 and 115 for JRF sufficient and 100 to 110 for NET. it may be some less, some more, but it is, if you get such this much of marks, then it is clear that you will qualify. So let's see some quick. So analysis portion covers around 80 marks, 30 marks in part B and 50 marks around part C. Linear algebra 42, similarly complex 30, Lie model algebra 33, and ODE, PD consists 35, and other numerical analysis, integral equation, and consists 46. Statistics is 121, and other are topology, some metric questions, and other are consist of 18 marks. So you can see here that to attempt 100, you attempt 100 to 130 marks correctly, then you easily get 120, 115 marks. So you have to choose your comfortable zone in this area. You are comfortable in analysis, linear, complex, or in ODPD or numerical analysis portions. So you choose very wisely. And one more thing I will mention here, that in exams, as you see, the question paper consists 405 marks, and you have to attempt maximum 200 marks. And if you have correctly answer 120 marks, you are JRF. So in exams, you have to know what to leave. किस क्वेश्चन को आपको छोड़ना है एग्जाम्स में, ये आपको अच्छे से पता होना चाहिए. आप अगर सारे क्वेश्चंस अटेम्प्ट करने जाएंगे तो डेफिनेटली आपका टाइम लैप्स होगा और आप कॉन्फिडेंट नहीं रहेंगे एग्जाम्स में, क्योंकि आप मैक्सिमम अटेम्प्ट करेंगे, सारे क्वेश्चंस पे सही से आपका फोकस नहीं रह पाएगा. तो मेरा पर्सनल एडवाइस है कि जब भी आप एग्जाम्स में जाएं तो आप क्लियर रहें कि कौन सा पोर्शन हमें अटेम्प्ट करना है और कौन सा पोर्शन नहीं अटेम्प्ट करना है. So how to do preparations for CSIR NET? So it's all about mathematics only, or in any subject or anything you want to learn basically. So first learn how to learn, then what to learn. We all know what to learn. We know the syllabus, we know the patterns and all that. But how to learn? This is basic कमी होती है हम लोगों के पास, जिसको हमें सही करना है, जिसको हम इस टॉक में प्रॉब्लम्स के थ्रू देखेंगे. So most of the students don't ask why. If then, if not then, different approaches. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? आपको लेट्स से एग्जांपल देते हैं कि आपको लिमिट की डिफिनेशन पता है एग्जैक्टली. आपको पता है कि एक लिमिट अगर एल हो रही एफ की x टेंड्स टू x नॉट पे, देन such condition of silent delta that there exists a degree of silence, there exists a delta, this condition satisfied. But how to raise questions to empower your concepts? कैसे जानेंगे आप आपका कॉन्सेप्ट, आपका नॉलेज, जो आपने डिफिनीशंस पढ़ी, जो आपने थ्योरम्स पढ़े, वो आपको समझ में आया कि नहीं आया. डिफिनीशंस को याद कर लेना ही समझना नहीं होता, उसके लिए होता है प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करना. और सबसे अच्छा क्या होता है कि जब आप प्रॉब्लम बनाना शुरू करो उस क्वेश्चंस पे, आप क्वेश्चंस रेज करो. अगर ऐसा नहीं होगा तो क्या होगा, ये होगा तो क्या होगा. सो आई एम गिविंग जस्ट ए वेरी इजी एग्जांपल टू हाउ टू रेज क्वेश्चंस. सो हियर वी नो दैट limit x tends to 5, x square equal to 25. It's very easy, we all know that. But how to learn in higher methods for epsilon delta method? So first we have to prove by epsilon delta method this, that for every epsilon we get a delta. That's our definition say. But why not 24.5? ये कभी हम सोचते हैं या करते समय हमारे पास क्वेश्चन आने चाहिए कि 24.5 क्यों नहीं होगी इसके लिए. क्या इसके लिए हमें एक एप्सिलॉन मिलेगा जिसके लिए कोई डेल्टा नहीं मिलेगा? अगर ये है फिर 20.5. ये चीजें हमें एनालाइज करनी है. जब हम ये करते हैं तो हमें डिफिनीशंस का एक्चुअल मतलब समझ में आता है. रो विद द लिमिट पॉइंट, p with the limit point of e, and we write fx goes to q as x goes to P. So similar way we have y. So we have to apply metric of range set or codomain, and for the all the points belongs to x, for which means we have the points, our points are in x space. So we apply metric of the x for this domain. Okay. So what is the graphical interpretation of the limit? So we have say fx minus l is less than epsilon. Means if l is this, we say that fx x goes to x naught, the limit is l, means fx minus l should be less than this. So means if x lies between these points, x, what does it mean? It means x minus delta to x plus delta between. So any point choose from this to this, you can see the image set is from this to this in the graph, and this is the range set we get, and it is obviously lies between L plus epsilon to L minus epsilon. So it is very easy graphical interpretation. So as I mentioned, how you know that you understand it clearly, graphical interpretation. So for this is here it is exercise for all of you to interpret when the limit is not L, then how does the graph look like? How you get delta, how you get epsilon. So it is an exercise for you that then you can assure yourself that yes, you know graphical interpretation of limit very much and very strongly, and you convince yourself, not to others, you convince yourself that I understand it clearly. Okay. So some useful results you all know and we have studied it. So what we say, it is algebra of limits. So if f goes to x naught, x goes to x naught, then fx goes to L1 and gx goes to L2, then f plus g goes to L1 plus L2, f minus g goes to L1 minus L2, and f and g goes to L1 into L2, and f by g goes to L1 by L2. Here is very basic thing is mentioned that L2 is not equal to 0. It's very easy part, but you have to think why. If L2 becomes 0, then what's the problem created? You apply definitions and get, we know if we can't divide any number by 0, so it is not defined. But you have to verify yourself, justify yourself. So here it is the very easy question asked in CSIRNet and based on this simple results. So which of the following set of the functions from R to R is a vector space over R? So we know that from here, last slide, the algebra means plus, minus, scalar multiplication is also hold, we know that. So all the things are involved, is satisfied in all the cases. So what we have to see, what is the condition of vector space? We know the definition. The basic requirement is there 0, means 0 element, additive 0 is in the set or not. So first case, we can easily say 0 function, it is satisfied because all other properties are satisfied from this. We have to only check in this question that it has 0 element or not, because all the other properties of vector space, as you know the definition, I am supposing that. So it is satisfied from the algebra of limit. But second part, is there any 0 element? No. You have to verify yourself. Why no element? And in also we know that in every vector space, 0 is not the 0 element actually. It is a set of functions we have taken. So here the 0, additive 0 is a function and we say 0 function. So that S does not belong to S2. Similarly, you can see in S3 also, and it is easy to verify that S1 and S3 are the correct options. So limit at infinity, it's a very good definition and many students confuse with it, how to find the limit at infinity. So we say fx approaches the limit L as x approaches to infinity, and write x tends to infinity fx equal to L. X tends to infinity, what is the meaning of this? When we say tends means if we are saying in a real number line system, so if x goes to x naught, we make an arrow on number line and say from this point we are taking in some small neighborhood of that x naught point. But x goes to infinity means in basic definition is a number which is bigger than any number. It's called infinity, very rough definition. So how it is mathematically, if you take a number x, so we need to define delta for this, the domain for which the limit of epsilon condition should be satisfied. So here is f is defined open interval as we are discussing in real number system. So for epsilon to infinity, there is a number beta such that fx minus L is less than epsilon for all x greater than beta. Means after a number for all x, means x goes to infinity or beyond any number other, this condition should be satisfied. Then we say limit at infinity is L. And there are some left and right approaches also when limit is infinity. Just take example 1 by x. Okay, and take x naught equal to 0, means 1 by x, limit x tends to 0 minus, means when हम left से approach करेंगे, the limit become minus infinity, and when we approach from right side, then limit become positive infinity. Okay, now we call the limit very quickly, and now infinity. So these are the very basic. I'm not going to tell this. Just recall the epsilon delta definition. That's our main aim to understand the basic math and how to implement these theorems and results in questions. So f is a continuous at point x naught if and only if f is defined an open interval AB containing x naught, and for each epsilon greater than 0, there exists a delta greater than 0 such that fx minus fx naught is less than epsilon whenever x minus x naught is less than delta. So first note that continuity is defined at a point, means it is a local property. That's why we are discussing and apply the conditions on the neighborhood of the point. That is a local property continuities. And you can note that if fx naught we put L, then it becomes the definition of limit. It means the limit of the function at that point must be equal to the functional value at that point. Then we say f is continuous. Okay, and one thing more. Oh, sorry. Next, the same we apply metric space definition as I have earlier mentioned. We take, when we talk about codomain, then we use the metric of codomain. When we talk about points in domain, then we use metric of domain, that is dx. So for each epsilon greater than 0, there exists a delta such that d of y fx fp less than epsilon for all points x naught x belongs to E for which dx xp is less than delta. Now, a more general definition of continuity, which is applicable in all the spaces, means metric spaces, topological spaces, and all other. So this definition that I have mentioned here as a theorem is the most general definition of continuity, that a function, a map f of a metric space x into a metric space y, you can say topological space x to a topological space y, is continuous if and only if inverse of V is open in X for every open set V in Y. Means inverse of open set is open. We say in normal language, inverse of open set is open. It is the most general definition for continuity of a function. So again, the algebra of continuity, that f plus g, f minus g, and f into g are continuous if f and g are continuous at a point or in a domain, say S. And f by g is continuous at each x naught in S such that gx naught is not equal to 0. Again, why it is not equal to 0? If it is 0, then it has the expression f by 0 has no meaning. So sequential criteria of continuity, very, very important in case of exams point of view. And when, let's first read the statement what says sequential criteria for continuity. A function a to r is continuous at a point C belongs to A if and only if for every sequence
Gyanendra,
yes.
I think you have to reshare your screen. It is not visible now.
Okay.
No, it is visible.
Okay. Some
Yes.
of you are,
Yeah, it is visible only, Gyan sir.
Kathy, I will suggest rejoin it. Rejoin.
okay, please take care of your
One is the
discrepancy.
criteria for continuity.
Okay, we are discussing sequential criteria for continuity. So we say a function f a to r is continuous at the point C belongs to A if and only for every sequence xn in A that converges to C, the sequence fxn converges to fc. So in general, what it means, let's say in one line, if we want to say a function f is continuous at a point C, means any sequence in domain xn which converges to C, then f of xn will come into the range set our codomain, then f of xn must be converged to f of C, and this is if and only if criteria. So when we want to say a function f is not continuous at point C, then it is the converse of this theorem, or we say negation, how we say it. So here is a discontinuity criteria. Let A is the subset of R and F A to R and C belongs to A. F is discontinuous at C. If and only if there exists a sequence. Note that this point, there exists a sequence. And in the continuity criteria, we have every sequence. Means every sequence converging to C, then image of that sequence converging to F of C. Then we say continuity. To prove discontinuity, we need one sequence which converges to C, but image of that sequence does not converge to F of C. That's the enough criteria to prove discontinuity of a function. So see very simple example, Dirichlet function. So this function is very tough to prove by definition. Sometimes that's why we need theorems. But I suggest if you want to understand epsilon delta definition of continuity, why we need epsilon delta definition, then you must try once to prove by definition without using any theorem or results. So here's the function fx equal to 1 if x is rational and 0 if x is irrational. So we all know that it is discontinuous at every point. But how one should approach this problem? If you have some idea, you have already read this question and solved many times earlier also. But when you come a question first time and you have no idea how to approach, then first we want take some example. Let's see 0.5. Let's see x is not equal to 5. We check at x not equal to 5, this function is continuous or not. So to prove this, it involves some denseness definition of rational numbers and irrational numbers in R. That provides me a sequence that we need to prove discontinuity. So I'm assuming that we know that rationals and irrationals are dense in real numbers with absolute norm, metric or norm or say. So we want to prove that at x not equal to 5, the function is discontinuous. So we know that by denseness definition, there exists a rational sequence, say xn, that converges to 5, and f of xn become constant sequence. Because each xn is a rational sequence, so x is rational, then f of xn equal to 1 for each n. So f of xn converges to 1. And also by irrational numbers, also dense in R. So we take a sequence of irrational yn, which converges to 5 again. So f of yn become 0. Why? Because yn is irrational for each n. So this constant sequence becomes 0. So we have two sequences. One is fxn, which goes to 1, and other one is fyn, which goes to 0. And xn goes to 5 and yn goes to 5. But the sequential criteria what say the sequence must converge to f of c. But f of c, 5 is a rational number, so f of 5 equal to 1. But we have a sequence f of yn which goes to 0. So here we get one sequence which satisfies the condition of sequential criteria. But what we want to mention here is that every sequence that converges to C must be converged to f of C, their image. And here we get a yn sequence of irrationals, f of yn goes to 0, not equal to 1, that is f of 5. Okay, so some other more theorems. These are basic property, and we can prove by result that if f and g are continuous function, then f of g means f composition g is also continuous, where composition is well defined. So if f a to r and let mod of f be defined by mod f of x, that modulus value, then if f is continuous at point c belongs to a, then modulus of f is also continuous at c. If f is continuous on a, then modulus of f is continuous on a. Means, as I said, that continuity is a local property. So we first discuss on a, and if all the points for any set a is satisfied, then it's okay. So this is the theorem, and it's very easy to see and verify. But what about converse? Here comes the mind. We should think about it. Converse true होगा कि नहीं होगा? और true होगा तो कब होगा? नहीं होगा तो काउंटर एग्जाम्पल चाहिए हमको. अगर नहीं हो रहा, ठीक है, क्या हम कुछ कंडीशंस डोमेन पे, फंक्शन पे, को डोमेन पे, रेंज पे हम कुछ पुट कर सकते हैं जिससे हमारा कन्वर्स ऑफ दिस थ्योरम सेटिस्फाई हो जाए? ये आप लोगों की एक्सरसाइज है, आपको ये सोचना है कि क्योंकि ये थ्योरम्स जो मैं डिस्कस कर रहा हूँ ये आप पढ़ बीएससी या एमएससी लेवल में आप पढ़ चुके हैं सारे थ्योरम, लेकिन आप ये कन्वर्स सोचिए और आप कंडीशन कब कन्वर्स ट्रू होगा. Same for the second theorem for under root of fx, same is apply. If f is continuous, then under root of f is continuous or not. Again, find the converse. What about converse? And it's a sufficient condition when converse is also true. This is the exercise for all of you. Okay, there are few very important results. They are very, very important results in real analysis. So boundedness theorem. If I is a closed bounded interval, and let f to r is continuous r, then f is bounded on I. This is simple result, and actually if we generalize this result in metric space or in topological space, then what does it mean by closed and bounded set? I am supposing that you have studied some compactness definition or some results. So closed and bounded sets are compact in R. So if we generalize this theorem, this says that image of a compact set is compact. That's it. And maximum and minimum theorem, if I close interval a and b and fi to r be a continuous function on R, then f has an absolute maxima and absolute minima on I. What is the meaning of f has absolute maxima and absolute minima? If we take let's say open interval I 0 to 1 and f defined 0 to 1 to r by fx equal to x, then can we say that f has absolute maxima and absolute minima on I? F is bounded because the range set is also open interval between 0 to 1, and we can bound by 1 and by 0. So what continuity asserts on closed intervals is that the point of maxima is lied in the domain. And local root theorem, we can say it is a particular case, or we use this theorem to prove more generalized intermediate value property, that if a to b closed interval fi to r be continuous on I, if f of a less than 0 and f of b greater than 0 are converse, then there exists a point C between a to b such that f of c equal to 0. Again, I say, what about if we take open intervals? What about if we remove the condition of continuity? And what about if we remove the interval? If we remove the interval, then what happens? So these are the some questions you have to ask yourself to understand the importance of theorem, continuity, and closed intervals. It involves many terminologies. Just remove one condition and you will see that this theorem is not valid anymore. So these are all the way to study. कैसे पढ़ना है चीजें, थ्योरम पढ़ रहे हैं, क्वेश्चंस खुद से करने हैं कि अगर ऐसा नहीं हुआ, इफ नॉट देन व्हाट, इफ सच कंडीशन बी रिमूव व्हाट हैपन नेक्स्ट. So these all are the exercise for you. You have already studied these theorems and all the proofs you know very well. So that I mentioned earlier, Bolzano intermediate value theorem. This is very important theorem and frequently asked question in especially NVHM and TFR. There it has very wide application in question solving. So I is an interval and let fi to r be a continuous on I if a and b belongs to I and if k belongs to r satisfies this. Then there is a point C belongs to I such that a and b and f of c equals to k. So what is the generalization case of this theorem, or we say extension? When we say in metric space or topological space, that we say image of connected set is connected if f is continuous. That's the restriction to R, then we get this theorem. Sorry. So here again, and some more on corollary. I a to b closed interval, bounded interval, fi to r be continuous on I if k belongs to R is any number satisfying this between infimum and supremum. How can we say about infimum and supremum? Because by previous theorem we say absolute minima and absolute maxima exist on closed set. Then there exists a point C in I such that f of c equals to k. And preservation of interval theorem. Let I be an interval and fi to r be a continuous function on R, then the set f of I is an interval. We can easily see the generalization that I said. The connected set, image of connected set is connected, and this no in R connected sets are intervals and singletons and whole R itself. So here it is very easy question, CSR net question about this that we have discussed just about results. F R to R continuation, choose the correct statement. F is bounded. You already know the answers. Can anyone just you can write the answer in chat box. It is easy to for all of you. The image of F is an open subset of R. Okay, let me explain one by one. If we take fx equal to x, identity function, then f is not bounded. The image of f is an open subset of R. If we take constant function, again it is wrong. If f of a is bounded for all bounded subsets of R. You have to think about this third one, and let's say about 4 first. F inverse A is compact for all compact subset of R. So we have no compact subsets of R are closed and bounded sets. So if we define fx equal to constant function say C, then singleton C is closed and bounded, so compact in R, and F inverse C become whole R, which is not compact because R is not bounded. It is closed in R but not bounded. So we have proved that 1, 2 and 4 are not correct. So it means third is correct. This is the way to attempt the questions in exams. But आप अभी घर पे हो, आपको पढ़ना है, आपको knowledge चाहिए, आपको concept समझना है. So you have to prove the third part. And I am giving you here hint that bounded set means a bounded set. How if we take the closure of a bounded set in R, then what will be? It will be a compact set because it becomes closed and bounded. Then image of that set is also compact. This means if A is contained in A closure, means f of A is contained in f of A closure, and f of A closure is compact. Then f of A is also compact in R. So f of A is closed and bounded. Means the image of A is contained in a closed and bounded set. This implies f of A is also bounded. Hope you will understand and try it yourself. I am not giving solution of this question because it is easy and it will increase your concept regarding the above theorems that we have discussed. So try it, please. So let's have some other question. I think this is one from TFR. So here is a very simple question given: FR to 0 to infinity, close 0 to infinity is continuous function. And the question is asking about there exists a x belongs to R such that f of 0 plus f of, it means here I missed fx equal to f of 0 plus f of 1 by 2. The second option is x belongs to R such that f of x equal to f of minus 1, f of 1. And the third one is there exists a x belongs to R such that f of x equal to minus 1 to 1, ft dt. And the fourth one is there exists a x such that fx equal to 0 to 1, ft dt. So how to approach this question? I have read the question, you have seen the questions. Currently I can't see the chat box. So how to approach this question? So I am giving just by experience or giving exams. Whenever asked about their existence of such x and with some conditions, you have to assure yourself that 95% times it involves intermediate value property theorem or mean value theorem property, if it involves derivatives also. So here we are discussing about continuous function, and here given only continuous function and nothing is given to us. So let's see how intermediate value property is. With the help of this property, we can easily see this question solution. So here's the solution. So first you have to notice one thing also I mentioned here that जब आप TFR और NBH में क्वेश्चंस आप करते हो या आपको मिलते हैं वो सिंपल बहुत होते हैं आपको, लेकिन वो इन्वॉल्व करते हैं बहुत सारे टर्मिनोलॉजी और बहुत सारे कॉन्सेप्ट्स. अगर आपको वो कॉन्सेप्ट्स नहीं पता है सही से या आप एग्जाम टाइम में वो चीज़ें ऑब्जर्व नहीं कर पा रहे हैं तो मुश्किल होता है क्वेश्चन को अटेम्प्ट करना या आपको टाइम टेकिंग ज़्यादा लगता है. जैसे यहाँ आपको पता ये क्या है, ये अर्थमेटिक मीन है f0 और f1 का. So we know that by property या theorem or result we easily prove or know minimum of f0 f1 से ये greater than होगा and maximum of f0 and f1 से less than होगा. So without loss of generality, let's assume f of 0 is less than f of 1. So it means f of 0 is less than this and f of 1 by this. So let's say the middle part is a. So that means f of 0 is less than f of a and f of 1. Okay, so the solution is done. This is the only part you have to think. Then apply intermediate value property. So f is given that is continuous from 0 to infinity is continuous. So define a function g, 0 to 1 by r to r sorry, such that g of x equal to a minus fx. So you note that g of 0 is greater than 0, g of 1 is less than or equal to 0. So 0 is lied between 0 and g of 0 and g of 1. So by above theorems, let's say what the theorem. Okay. If in where it goes, yeah. If you have a point between this and this k, then there exists a point c belongs to I. I means it is the interval between a b. The point between interval is not mentioned here exactly, but you get the point a and b in the interval such that f of c equal to k. So just we apply this one. So there exists a c belong to 0, 1 such that g of c equal to 0. So a minus fc equal to 0 and we get fc equal to this and a equal to this belong to. So the question is asking us about you can get there exists a x in R, but we can by using the above theorems we get in 0, 1 at a smaller domain also. So it is very much what is it precise we can get and we get here. So the next one is also the whole question is all about intermediate value property theorem only. For second, we know that without loss of generality, again assume f of minus 1 is less than f of 1 and f of minus 1 is less than or equal to f of minus 1 this and this. Again say this one is a. Now the previous question we discussed that we taken here a g different function and we apply intermediate value property theorem. Anyone verify or you have to ask the question or you should realize the intermediate value property theorem is applied on continuous function. Does g is continuous? Yes, because it is a difference of two continuous functions. So I am not mentioned here that g is continuous, but it is understood that g is continuous. So we apply the intermediate value property. For second part, same cheese. Now this time we apply the same theorem, just not define second function g for lengthy proof, just restrict the f to the domain minus 1 to 1. Then restriction of a function is also continuous. If the function is continuous on bigger domain, then it is also continuous on smaller domains also. So here f minus 1 to 1 r is continuous and bc minus f of minus 1 is less than a and f of 1 is greater than a. Then again by the same property, intermediate value property, there exists a c minus 1 to 1 such that f of c equal to a and this implies a equal to f of minus 1 to 1. So we have get this one. Okay, and the third one is you can easily check that by taking constant function f of x equal to 1, it is continuous, and you check that f of x become what become it the integral become I think 2 and the function is constant, so for no x there exists no x for which the value become 2. So this one is incorrect. For the fourth part, we have changed the integration limit from 0 to 1 ft dt. So I'm not giving the solution for this fourth one, which is exercise. You have to maintain something like that, that it is true also. This value is less than some f of some a, this value is less than some f of b, and then again apply intermediate value theorem. Then how you assert that this value is greater than or less than some a, f of a, some f of b. You have to analyze it and you have to convince yourself that yes, there exists some a and b, such property. So it is, this theorem is very, very useful with that one can tell that number of real zeros of a function. If you have questions in word, sometimes question asks 5 to the power x plus 6 to the power x plus 7 to the power x equal to 8 to the power x. How many real roots does it have? So it is a continuous function because it is an exponential. So you have to manage somehow, get two values of x such that one is greater than 0, one is less than 0. Then again by intermediate value property, we can say that there exists a point C for which f the function becomes 0, means the function has 0 at the point. We can't calculate exactly, but we can, by theory, we can say that yes, there exists a 0 of that function between this interval, between that interval. So that much interval we can find are such values of in the domain x1, x2, x0, such that f of x1 and f of x2 are opposite signs. Then we can say between there must be f of c become 0. So here is another one question, and here we use one more thing, that connected set, image of connected set is connected, means if we talk about previous results that we have discussed, the preservation of intervals, R is also an interval, minus infinity to infinity, open interval. So we say the image, if f is continuous, R to R's, then what it means, f is, image of f must be an interval. And it asks there exists a continuous function f R to R such that f of q is contained in irrationals and f of irrationals contains in rational. Means rational, image of rational is contained in irrational and image of irrational contains in rational. Now this is also question of TFR. So it involves 2-3 extra points also, you know. And by just looking at the question, you can't guess that we have to use this property or these things also. So in the solution, we see that it involves contiguity and image of continuous function is continuous. And the one basic property that if A equal to B union C by set, then f of A equal to f of B union f of C. So let's see the about solution. So the result is that we know that question is not visible. Hello?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. Okay. I am just repeat the question again. There exists a function f R to R such that image of rational is contained in irrationals and image of irrationals contained in rationals. Yeah, I saw. Is my screen is visible or not?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
visible again, sir.
It is visible, and continue.
If someone has problem, then please rejoin or check your internet.
हेलो ज्ञानेंद्र जी, आपके नाम पे दो नाम से है, इसलिए कुछ लोग आपके एक नाम पे टच कर रहे हैं तो स्लाइड नहीं दिख रही, दूसरे नाम पे टच करने से आपकी स्लाइड दिखने लगेगी. ओके, आप
प्रेजेंटेशन वाले नाम से दिखेगी.
हाँ
ओके, जस्ट ओके, जिसको नहीं दिख रहा वो जो भी है, आप सेकंड नेम मेरा दिख रहा होगा, वहां पे आप क्लिक करेंगे तो आपको दिखेगा स्क्रीन मेरा.
यस
सर, प्रेजेंटेशन वाला नाम दिख रहा है सर.
Okay, so we come back to question. Okay, f R to R is counter function given. So f of R must be connected. So we know that the connected sets of R. So we have not discussed this in this talk, but assume that we know connected sets of R singletons, intervals, and R itself. So what it says, f of q. So we are assuming that such function exists. Let's suppose this function, such function exists. Then what happened? So the image of rationals is contained in irrational. So if domain is countable, then image is also countable. Because if domain has 5 points, then image cannot have more than 5 points. Because by the definition of function. So if rational numbers are countable, so image of rational numbers is also countable. So f of q is countable. Similarly, if image of irrational numbers are contained in rational numbers, means our codomain for restriction in irrational numbers is countable. So the image of any set cannot be exceed the cardinality of codomain. So the image of irrationals is contained in Q. This implies f of R minus Q, that is image of irrationals, is also countable. Okay. So f of R is countable. Why? Since image of f is f of Q union f of R minus Q. That I say that is one result basic. If A equal to B union C, then f of A equal to f of B union f of C. That's it. Because R is union of rationals and irrationals. So both are countable. So image of f of R is countable. So we have two things. If such function exists, then f of R must be countable, and f of r must be connected, both. So connected sets of R are intervals, singletons, and R itself. And we know that intervals and R is uncountable. So we left out with one choice only, that f of R must be singleton. So we have f of R is singleton. So f is a constant function. So constant functions, let's say a, f of x equal to a for all x. So a either be rational or irrational. So if we say a is rational, then it contradicts the property that irrationals contained in irrational, because image is rational. So we get contradictions with this. So no such function exists. Okay, and sometimes we have seen a solution. The actual problem is many times occurs that how we know, we have to prove that no such function exists or there exists as a function. So without any, if you have a question and you have no approach how to do, just go for examples. Try to construct examples, such examples. Can you make some examples? Try 2 and 3 examples. If the condition is satisfied, then try to prove in general. If you made 2 or 3 examples and the condition is not satisfied, then go for the proof that this cannot be happen for any such. So this is the very basic and very easy example of continuity of function and connectedness. So as I mentioned, in TFR and NVHM questions, they involve many things, and by reading the questions, you can't guess that you have to use this property. In this simple question, you have to use countability, connectedness, and connected sets of R. So you have to complete knowledge of R or whatever that's the you want to give NVHM, TFR, you want to qualify, you have to complete knowledge. Just by proof, just by remembering theorems, you can't get qualified for that, because the question is asked in very simple way and you have no idea how to approach and what are the things involving in this proof, and they want that from the student. You have to think this level, how to approach a problem and how to solve. Okay, so as I say, you have to read this question and solve. Don't stop here. Next time in TFR, they ask similar questions, but little bit change in the question. So let's see what are the changes. So there exists a continuous function from R to R such that rationals are contained in irrationals. क्या कोई ऐसा function exist करता है? There exists a continuous function f R to R such that irrationals contained in rationals. Okay, the answer is quite easy. Some of you get by taking constant functions. Easy. But the question again raised a non-constant continuous function. Now it is the exercise for all of you to try and make the questions to yourself. What are the possible questions can be made from the previous question or the question just you have solved? And just f of q, this in the solution where you use the property of continuity, the condition that given it is continuous, where you use in the solution where it is continuous, and this condition where you get contradiction. So where what is the contradiction and where these two conditions you have used in the problem, and just remove that condition. Then you find in your solution that where you use that condition in your solution, that now you can't proceed in the same manner as the previous solution you have done. So here are two questions. So okay, the answer is constant function is obvious in these cases, but try to find non-constant. There exist or not exist. And one more question we have to discuss here. Consider a set of continuous function. Here is a set of continuous functions f0 to 1 are such that this satisfies. Then the cardinality of this set. Simple one, understandable the question is. Now, how to approach this question? The first one. You have no idea the cardinality of this function. So just first approach it, just try to by putting examples. Just take f to be a constant function, f to be a polynomial function, and if you get some function or some contradiction or anything, then you are done. If not, then you try for proof or not. If you take polynomial functions, then let's suppose this condition not satisfied. This means in the set polynomial functions does not like polynomial functions, non-constant polynomial functions, maybe constant were there. So, and any continuous function in R, we are assuming that you have listened Weierstrass theorem. They can be approached by approximation by polynomials, any continuous function. So in somehow you can sense that okay, if it means no polynomial, then you use integral and limit properties and try to do. So let's see the solution correct way how it is solved. So okay, here is given fx equal to 1 minus fx dx. So just I am doing this is a perfect square. So I have made it perfect square minus of fx minus half x whole square 1 by 4. Now you can see the solution is easy. So now 1 by 4, 0 to 1, this one is given, and we have to find this one. So 1 by 4, 1 by 4, we can cancel out, and 0 to 1, f of x minus half square dx. Okay, one more result we have not discussed here. The integral a to b gx dx. If gx is greater than or equal to 0, and gx is continuous, then gx must be 0. So again, it is exercise to prove your, and if g is not continuous, can you have, and the condition is this. Can we say if g of x is strictly greater than 0, then integral is also strictly greater than 0? You have to check this is also. So from this result, from what we get from here, that fx is minus half the whole square equal to 0 implies fx equal to 1. Means we have to solve all and we get exactly one function, and fx should be constant function, it is half, no other function. So only one function is possible, that fx equal to 1 by 2. Okay. So now again, we have solved this question. Now, what are the other questions can be made from this question? Here it is. I have removed the continuity condition. Consider a set of function f 0 to 1 are that satisfies this condition. I have removed the continuity because we have used the continuity in here in the solution, and nowhere we use any continuity property. It is a general property of squaring a function or complete square making. Here it is the integral properties we have used. Here we use only continuity property, and here I remove the continuity property. Then the cardinality of the set is 0, 1, only finitely many, infinitely, uncountably many. So this is the exercise you have to check yourself. How many functions can you get? And one more thing, if the function is continuous and we remove 1 by 4 by any other number, because you have to notice here, the 1 by 4 here and 1 by 4, this cancelled out and becomes 0. That's why we get this condition. If we remove this 1 by 4 with some other number c, then what become the cardinality of the set? So you have to ask yourself this question and solve, because next time in the question paper you see such question but different changes in conditions. So you have to well prepare earlier before the exams to yourself. So another question we are going to discuss which involves exactly continuity. Also, f is a 0 to 1 are a continuous function such that f of x is greater than or equal to x cube for all x belong to 0 to 1. With integral 0 to 1 fx dx equal to 1 by 4 such that fx equal to x cube for all x belongs to R. Sorry. So how you approach this question again? So again I say, just try to find a function. If it is true, then it is obvious fx equal to x cube, then the condition is satisfied. Just choose fx greater than x cube. Then what will you get? Just take some particular examples. If you get contradiction that this condition is not satisfied, then you have to prove that there does not exist any such function. That is with this condition, which is in which fx is greater than x cube for any x. So we have defined gx fx minus x cube, since fx is greater than x cube, greater than or equal to x cube. Here it is given. So we have gx is greater than or equal to 0. So gx is also continuous. Why? This is the point. Because this is continuous, difference is continuous. It is easy and understood. Okay. So let there exist a x naught 0 to 1 such that g of x is greater than 0. हमने ये मान लिया कि एक पॉइंट कम से कम यहाँ मिल रहा है जिसपे ये पॉइंट, जिसपे gx ग्रेटर देन 0 हो रहा है, मतलब उस पॉइंट पे f ऑफ x जो होगा वो ग्रेटर देन x नॉट यूज होगा। So again by using gx continuity at x naught, so for each epsilon greater than 0 there is a delta such that apply the definitions and now choose epsilon. Again, how you know to choose this epsilon, particular this value of epsilon, and why do you have to choose? So you have to choose any number here. Any number means you choose. Okay, let's say you didn't choose this epsilon, but epsilon must be greater than 0. So when you put here, so if gx naught is greater than 0, so gx naught minus some epsilon. So epsilon must be less than gx naught value. So you get in the left side positive quantity. That is, here I have taken gx naught by 2 and assuming that g of x naught is greater than 0. This means g of x naught by 2 is also positive, and this epsilon is also positive. So by definition, we get a delta for this satisfy this condition. So gx naught by 2 less than gx, 3 gx by naught by 2. Gx dx, that is fx x naught this is given to us 1 by 4. This is the condition. So it becomes 0. So again, अब now we have integrate here by given conditions. Now here we are going to integrate by property of integral and continuity we use. So just we have seen in this interval x naught minus delta to x naught plus delta, gx satisfies these conditions. Okay. So we use 0 to x naught minus delta, x naught plus delta, x naught plus delta to 1. And this one is greater than 0 because here g of x naught is greater than 0 for all x, except we have assumed that there exists x naught such that x is strictly greater than 0. So this one is greater than or equal to 0, this one is this. And here, note that I think missed this point. Here it is given in this interval g of x naught by 2 gx. It is strictly positive. Note that here it is strictly positive. By definition we get. So this one become strictly positive condition here. So this we solve this by, so we get gx naught by 2 into delta, gx naught delta. Since gx naught is delta and delta is also positive, so this implies the whole integral is strictly positive. And here we get the integral must be 0 by given conditions, which is a contradiction. So the fx must be x cube. This means this statement is true. Because if we take any x naught in this interval for which x naught is greater than 0, then the integral becomes more than 1 by 4, or we can say we get contradiction. Okay, so all this from my side, and one thing I suggest that for exams, if you ask about continuity, it involves some good questions on including connect. Lecture series maybe organized by ASIS. So we get uniform continuity, and then when uniform continuity be studied and we take into the consideration of questions, from there we made very excellent questions and very conceptual questions. And if you solve such question earlier, then for TFR and HM questions, you feel easy in exam to solve questions because you have practiced such type of question, how to think. For NET CSIR, we have seen 2-3 questions. They ask straightforward questions. If they ask about continuity or uniform continuity, it means they involve just direct that one, want to ask about only that continuity. But in NVHM TFR, they ask many things in background. Basic mathematics background, about integrals, about other things, maxima, arithmetic mean, or whatever that can be included in the question. Okay, so that's it all for my side. So I just 2 books I will recommend to all of you: Introduction to Real Analysis, Robert G. Bartley, and Principle of Mathematical Analysis, Walter Hood. These 2 books are very good for conceptual and for competitive exams point of view also both. Okay, thank you. For any questions, so we can discuss. Ashish?
Shashank, I request you to please read the questions if any.
Thank you so much, sir. lecture से related questions हो, so you can ask freely. You can unmute yourself
Hello,
and ask
Shashank.
your doubts.
Your
If
voice
regarding,
is-
yes sir,
Now it is clear. Okay.
my voice is not audible, right? Now I'm audible, sir.
Yes, yes, you are audible.
हाँ, तो आपके पास यदि किसी के पास कोई क्वेश्चन हो रिगार्डिंग आज के लेक्चर को लेके, तो आप क्वेश्चन अपना रख सकते हैं। आप अनम्यूट करके सर के सामने अपना क्वेश्चन रख सकते हैं रिगार्डिंग लेक्चर। यदि कोई क्वेश्चन हो आपके पास, प्लीज। अभी हमारे पास 10 से 15 मिनट का टाइम है, तो आप अपना क्वेश्चन रख सकते हैं।
I think we have discussed very easy things and all people get it. Nothing very about
Yes, sir.
mathematical questions.
I think
But
so,
if you have
sir.
someone,
There is one.
Apart from
Shashank, please go ahead. There is one question. It is not.
Sir Abhishek, question is that want to know about the process of clearing. Yes, I get it. Sir, please can you please asking about the process clearing JRF? What should we do? Where should we go?
okay, so first of all,
So sir, please explain.
yes, चीज आप लोग ये समझिए, NET or any exam that we give in written one-day exams, they are just eligibility. Maybe you get a big qualify the result, guess my knowledge. After that, for if you are to go for, you have to apply in different institutes, including IITs, others, IMSC, CM, and all other things. You have qualified JRF, get a call letter from all the institutes first of all. So you must qualify JRF at least. And BHL, then you get preference IMSC, CMI, they give more preference to NBHM scholar, qualify NBHM. And for that, you have to go by interview for PhD. Each institute take individual in their PhD students. So they take times in a year, and they will release notification regarding the admissions in side college institutes. You can go through there and release NET, JRF, PHM, and some state level universities also include qualification, or some universities have their own exams regarding for PhD. So just NET, this is only an eligibility. In interview, they check your, not just their theorems. As you see the questions of TFR and BHM, you see that it involves many concepts. So they interview you, if you solve the question, they ask in interview the same question, how you solve this. And when give the solution, again ask what you tell, they ask questions from there involving all these things. So just you qualify NET JRF for your eligibility and then go by process of interview. Okay, thank you.
Hello, Gyan sir.
So, some more new question. Ankita Kumari is saying, sir, currently I am playing for IIT JAM basics of real analysis. Good use is a good way to grasp real analysis. Sir is asking about preparing for IIT.
Okay, if you are for IIT JAM or anything, and first book, I will suggest that Bartle. Bartle is very factual and very book. You can most important solve size questions of Bartle. That's very, very important. Your concepts and all real, you will get confidence by solving size of the book. You must solve, and I will suggest Bartle. After that, if you have some time, then you go for Walter Newton. It has it is actually a little bit tough. It was metric spaces, some good questions it has. So I will suggest just go for Bartel if you are preparing for IIT JEE.
हाँ, तो ज्ञान नेट जेआरएफ क्वालिफाई करने के बाद जब हम आईआईटी जाते हैं इंटरव्यू देने के लिए, तो वहाँ पर रिटर्न भी होता है और इंटरव्यू भी होता है, राइट?
Yes, yes.
सबका अपना अलग अलग। तो इसमें मतलब हमको तैयारी कैसे करना चाहिए जिससे हमारा दोनों चीज़ कवर हो जाए, मतलब हमको अलग से तैयारी ना करना पड़े, क्योंकि प्रॉब्लम ये आता है मेनली कि जब हम रिटर्न के लिए तैयारी करते हैं तो हम इंटरव्यू के लिए पीछे छूट जाते हैं, और अगर हम इंटरव्यू के लिए करते हैं तो फिर हमारा रिटर्न कभी कभी रह जाता है, मतलब कि दोनों पैरेलल हो जाए।
ओके, आई गॉट योर क्वेश्चन। ओके, ये बहुत बच्चों की मतलब स्टूडेंट्स की प्रॉब्लम होती है, तो इसीलिए मैं बोलता हूँ जब आप अपने फर्स्ट स्टेज में आप तैयारी कर रहे हो, आप एग्जाम्स की या इंटरव्यू की या नेट जेआरएफ की, तो at least for real analysis, for algebra, whatever topics you are going to cover in exams and you are going to take in interview, you first finish at least one book for each subject. And just for, if we say real analysis, cover Bartel at least 5 chapters. If you go for Galilean for algebra, it is a very basic book, but you have covered, then it has your will have confidence that you can attempt any question, and both in exams and in interview, because in interview they start asking questions from very basic, not very just in one very tough questions. They start from Galilean or they start from Bartel, they start from real number system, and then they go for metric spaces, topological spaces, and functional analysis, as you mentioned in interview, in which subject you are interested. So I will suggest that you should just say you have 6 months for your exams, and after that in 6 months you get your for interview. So in 6 months, first of all, you prepare that at least 4 months you study book, only book and exercise. Exercise is more important. You solve exercise and books, and last 1 month you practice question papers and for exams, that how to speed up your question thinking and all. स्पीड सिर्फ क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करने से नहीं बढ़ता है, स्पीड हाथ चलाने से नहीं, दिमाग चलाने से बढ़ता है। आप कितना तेज क्वेश्चन को कैच कर रहे हो, क्या क्या चीजें हम इसमें सोच सकते हैं, क्या ऐड कर सकते हैं, क्या नहीं। आप अगर बुक सॉल्व करोगे तो डेफिनेटली आपका एग्जाम अच्छा जाएगा, क्योंकि आप इतने टाइप के क्वेश्चन अप्रोच आपके पास होंगे कि आप क्वेश्चन देखते ही 2 या 3 बार में आप एक्चुअल अप्रोच क्या है पा जाओगे। तो मैं कहूँगा कि 4 मंथ आप बुक्स पढ़ो, एक्सरसाइज पढ़ो, और अगर फर्स्ट टाइम कोई सब्जेक्ट पढ़ रहा है, रियल एनालिसिस, अलजेब्रा या नंबर थ्योरी, कोई एक बेसिक बुक उठाओ जो इजी हो, जैसे गैलिलियन अलजेब्रा के लिए बार्टल, सेम टाइम just prepare for your practice for your exams. After that, now you have qualified your exams, now you have to prepare for your interviews. So for interviews, I will suggest just solve some NBHM and TFR questions regarding your subjects. If you are going to give an interview in algebra or analysis or topology, then see the paper of NBHM and TFR and solve them by proof. And just I say, raise the question, if we remove this condition, what will happen? Because in interviews they ask, you say this, they say remove this condition, now what will happen? So if you prepare earlier, you have solved earlier, then you will be able to answer there also. At least not completely then, but your approach will be right. In interview, they see your approach, not the exact answer what you are going to tell. So just go by book once, and after that, if you're in your subject, try to find some more standard books. For Walter Rubin is, I think, enough for analysis if you are going for interview, and Michael Artin is, and Ian Hurstein and Duvet Fute is good for algebra also, and Kresik is good for, I think, basic book for functional analysis. These are okay. Thank you. Anyone else?
One more question here. Satendra Singh Rathore is asking, how can we know exact number of roots by Bolzano intermediate value theorem? He thinks that by this theorem we can only find one root.
No,
This
you can't find exact.
Yes,
Let me just put this. You have to observe the question and the point. Just I say, if a function is given and you take 2 points, where get f of a greater than 0, f of b less than 0. So you get, there is a point where f of c equal to 0. For one root, you get a point, a pair of points, that is A and B, between their C, for which it becomes 0. Now, if you get another pair of points other than A and B, then again you say, but note that that pair of points does not lie between A, B, because for that you have got. And after that, if you prove that, let's say after B, you can say f of B is greater than 0. And if you prove that f of x is greater than 0 for all x greater than b, means after b function is completely positive, then you can assert that yes, it has only one 0, because after that the function is positive. So to be exact, we need some extra conditions to put on the function, or we have to observe how the question is created और कैसा बनाया गया क्वेश्चंस को, और क्या कंडीशंस और दी हैं कि या तो हम बता दें कि फंक्शन एक पॉइंट के बाद हमेशा नेगेटिव रहेगा या हमेशा एक पॉइंट के बाद पॉजिटिव रहेगा. तो हम ये कह सकते हैं कि हाँ, अब इसके बाद कोई रूट इस फंक्शन का नहीं मिलेगा, तब हम एग्जैक्ट कह सकते हैं. एंड बिल्जानो इंटरमीडिएट वैल्यू प्राप्त थ्योरम डज नॉट अस्योर इन जनरल, वो केवल बताता है कि एक पॉइंट मिलेगा, वो ये भी नहीं बताता क्या पॉइंट मिलेगा अगर और कोई कंडीशन एक्स्ट्रा नहीं पुट की गई है तो. ओके, थैंक यू.
Sir, one more question. Arpit Shukla is asking how we use this rule to find rows. How we use this rule in finding rows.
Okay, so I have not correctly remembered the formula, but it has some sign rule. Means we have studied in, just say in class 10th or 12th, when we need to find the roots or graph of the function. So if function fx, we find the root x minus 2 and x minus 3, let's say. So in a number line, we put f of x equal to, we put 2 and 3 and check before 2 function is positive or negative, between 2 and 3 function is positive or negative, after 2 function is positive or negative. Okay, so if we get function somewhere negative and somewhere positive, then we can assume that there exists a root. Okay, so discard roots is the application of Bolzano intermediate value property with some extra condition of precise that it involves that sign change. We change the coefficient of sign, then how the behavior of function in sense of positive and negative changes that involves. And exactly I don't remember it currently, but you can find it on Google or any book. You can find it. Exactly. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Now I think thank you, sir, for your valuable information and for wonderful.
Thank you.
Sir, are you saying something?
No. Okay.
I think we are running out of time, so let's conclude the session.
Yes, sir. We are running out of time.
I hope you all have enjoyed this session and got some new concepts related to continuity. So thank you all from my behalf and mathematical thoughts. And I hope we will see you in the next sessions also. So thank you all.
One more information I want to share, sir. Actually, we have created a Facebook page by Mathematical Thoughts name. So you can follow us on Facebook. And tomorrow we will also create a Telegram group by the same name, Mathematical Thoughts, so that you can join the group and you all can get information related to our next web lectures. So I think now we should close the meeting. Is it okay, sir?
Hello. Hello.
Yes. Okay.
हाँ. हेलो ज्ञानंद जी, आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद.
Okay, thank you.
Well, most of the participants are asking about slides. How they can get slides of today's lecture.
Okay, I will send it to Mr. Assis. Okay, he will share with you.
Okay, interested participants
can mathematical thoughts also on FB page and on Telegram.
Otherwise, you can give us a mail. We can share you the slides there. Okay, now I think we should close this session.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. We will meet soon. Thank you very much.